Wasteland. Yes, and we're back with part 2 of how to build Sweet Tooth or Killer Clown from Outer Space ice cream truck type things. Okay, so in the last video you saw how I make the flamer turret heads, as it were, like big glass fibre decorative ornament that these things have. In this episode, we're going to be focusing more on the actual customizing and detailing of the bodies, as it were, because there is an art to it. Now, we all know how to make a vehicle look like a Wasteland vehicle. You attach lots of spikes and guns and things to it, and before you know it, it looks like something straight out of Mad Max, and that's good. However, if you're doing something like a clown build or something that has a specific kind of look, almost like a fairground ride or some sort of advertisement vehicle, you need to put a little bit more thought into it, and you can't just use the same kind of tools that you'd used before. So what we need, namely, are small details that look like child-friendly things like teddy bears and stuff like that, that we can cut up and stick to the cars, to the builds. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for that small thing that we call toys, because toys are small child-friendly things, aren't they? You get little tiny toy teddy bears, and that's what I did with my Sweet Tooth build. That's what's on the front of the truck. So where do you find these things? Well, one of the oldest tricks in the book, it's mystery bags and toys and containers. You name it, there's going to be something in here that is child-friendly enough that you can cut up and stick onto your toy. Now, I've been collecting these for a while, back before I started doing these videos specifically, because there was a part where I was going to do these random unboxing things with the partner. This isn't all of them, we've still got a ton of them left over. This is just the ones that are a bit weirder, like these Zypods things. Does anyone remember this? It was by WizKids. It was like a HeroClix spin-off game. It's awful rubbish, but you get the idea.
Zypods Battle Game! Are you ready to battle? Get the game with over 1 million combinations to build the meanest fighting creatures in the universe. Use your strongest Zypods to attack other creatures and take them out of the game. But beware when a creature is destroyed, because a more dangerous enemy might take its place. You can collect and trade game pieces to create the ultimate Zypod. Zypods, this game found where trading cards are sold.
Alright, so let's just jump straight into this. What do we have? We've got these Pirates of the Caribbean battle figures, which I suppose you could just chuck the word battle or collectible or limited edition in front of anything. But we got this little skeleton guy, and I mean he's surprisingly detailed. And in the second one we got this big clear sort of rubbery shark thing, zombie shark, which is a bit too big for what we're looking for. But, you know, there's other stuff out there. We've got these Disney Crossy Roads rubbish. What's this? This is the big robot from Big Hero 6. I think that's what that film was. Didn't see it, but I know of it. I was hoping for like a Mickey Mouse or something, but pixelated, which would have been cool. Now these, you see these absolutely everywhere, and I swear they're all the same and all made by the same company. It's always a rubbish little shooter toy and some awful sweets that aren't very good. And it's like a knockoff Kinder Egg. They're just so bad. But look, we could have had these little spiky spinning top things. That would have been good. But nope, we got the little shooter. Alright, now this really surprised me, because at first I couldn't get it. I was like, why has it got little holes? And then there you go. Surprisingly enough, these cheapo toys, they actually do a little knockoff Mr. Potato Head as scrambled heads. And of course I get the one that's meant to be like a caveman or something, but you know, there could be some potential in those giant hands. I picked up this Spider-Man blind bag a while back, and these are pretty good, to be fair. I mean, not really suitable for this, but I could definitely turn them into something for like D&D or some other tabletop miniatures game. Now, I had a lot of hopes for this Yu-Gi-Oh! HeroClix because there are some ridiculously cartoony and anime-looking characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! But what do I get? I get the Catapult Turtle, this piece of junk, from that one joke in that one episode. It's like, oh, of all the things to get. Like, I can't even really think of a use for this outside of this project. That's the main problem. But hey ho, I'll have to come up with something. And then after that, of course, opening up a little mystery bag of Thomas the Tank Engines, which I didn't even know was a thing, to be fair. In this case, I thought it was like Thundercats, but it's not. It's like some Raven head logo, so I don't even know. But the sort of creepy Thomas the Tank Engine face works great on anything, so. But check out this. I thought this was a ghost on first impression, but no, it's meant to be like a panda or something. TMNT miniature blind bag with battle card, authentic battle damage because I snipped it with the scissors. This again, I mean, at first glance you think, oh, like the gun might be useful, but I'm just going to turn this into something for like Judge Dredd miniatures. Like it's just too flimsy and too small, and the details are a bit too like just not what I'm looking for in this case. But I figured I'd get like a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Instead, I got Krang. Well, apparently there's multiple Krangs. But... Alright, let's get these star monsters out of the way. So these are like those... Man, do you remember they were called like Funny Bones or something like that? So yeah, I reckon this one looks a bit like a Peep or like that really old meme of like a polar bear or whatever it's meant to be. Man, I at first, I thought that blind bags would be a good idea, but man, there's not a lot of good stuff there. So let's have a look at Zypods. Okay,
Zypod!
so this is one of those games that just fell through the cracks of time, isn't it? Like I'm willing to bet 90% of you guys may never have heard of this. You'll have heard of WizKids and you'll have heard of HeroClix, but you won't have heard of Zypods because I
Zypod!
didn't hear of it until a few years back. Long story short, it's a god awful game where you combine the bits together to make like playing pieces, but there's like barely any models involved. It's all just these canisters, these little Russian nesting doll canisters. And I guess it's novel to like stick the two interesting pictures together, but at the end of the day, people want miniatures, they don't want these big tubes. I mean, that's why they're so dirt cheap on eBay. But yeah, a few years back I was looking for my friend who hey Midge, how you doing? He's the collector of everything. I swear he's like Brainiac 5 and he has so many different board games and things. And I decided to find like really obscure games for him and Zypods has got to be on that list because it's just so out there and weird. But yeah, so the idea was you'd buy one of these containers, and inside you'd have a 1 in 3 shot of it either being a miniature or a little cardboard avatar thing. And I think in the game they're meant to do the same thing, but oh, and one of these teeny tiny D100s, so that's quite nice at least. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Cyber. Never played it, have no particular interest in playing it, but I might be able to turn these lid tops into something because they're nicely detailed. But to put it in perspective, like there's a whole ridiculous game, and the miniatures do exist. It's just the chances of getting them are so low. But yeah, let's have a look in this one, and it's another cardboard cutout, and it's the same cardboard cutout. Hey, we finally got a miniature. I mean, okay, I don't know what to think of this miniature. If you guys have ever seen Blandco's YouTube channel, he likes to take cheapo miniatures and turn them into D&D. Yeah, how about this one? What are you going to do with that? It's the upper half of like a barbarian wearing a t-shirt and the lower half of 4 claws, 4 stabby spider legs. And he's called Matt, apparently. So there you go. The state of that. Come on, whiz kids. And another cardboard thing, and another cardboard thing. So yeah, needless to say, Zypods was pretty trash, but it's a little thing. All right, so back on track. So these are the big pile of toys, and yeah, I mean, going into this blind, I didn't really know what to expect. So there's always going to be like weird bits and pieces, but the key is to take a few things that you might try and use and just make some decisions. I mean, that skeleton head, that could be a little turret in its own right. You know, put some machine guns in the eyes, you're good to go. Alright, so let's get straight into the build now. Now, you've all seen me take apart a car and sand it down and glue the window back in and all that stuff before, so let's just skip past all of that and let's just get to the good stuff, alright? So you know that you need to put your car back together after you've done any essential maintenance. So yeah, this truck, it's not the kind of truck I'd normally use, but because we're doing like a clown car build or like an advertising truck build, like I think this will be some sort of devil's gas, company. We can very easily like take it as an exaggerated proportion, like only one person would be driving this truck or maybe two, because it's so much smaller than like an ice cream truck in terms of scale. So we need to make some axles for the wheels, so of course we're going to turn to good old trusty paper clips. And you know how this works, we're going to open up the paperclip and straighten it out. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple process. You can do it by hand or use some pliers. It's up to you. And then the next step is just going through and using the wheels. In this case, wheels from Kyamsil Designs, fine sponsor of this show. I actually doubled them up to get that good double tire look on each of the 4 back wheels. But we're going to be using these for that sort of gnarly, gritty off-road look, which is pretty suitable for the truck, to be fair. And they're super simple to use. It's just putting a paperclip rod through the hubcap of and it's so simple to use Kyamsil Design wheels and make them spin as well. I mean, if you just want to glue them to your car, that's a piece of cake. You just glue them straight on. But if you want to make them spin as well, using a paperclip, using some plastic tubing, it's so easy. Like, you can see I'm not using any specialized tools. You don't have to be a genius to work this out. And yeah, I mean, my advice would be glue one tire to the axle first, let that dry, make sure that's straight and, you know, a good 90-degree angle. And then before you glue the second tire on, make sure you've got that plastic tubing in between, because that's going to form the solid axle. That's going to form the housing for the axle to spin around inside. So just while the glue dries on those, let's take care of not Thomas the Tank Engine here. So here, in this case, I'm using a jeweler's saw. I'm going to do a video on jeweler's saws. I'm sure I've said this before, like at least 2 or 3 times now, but oh my goodness, they really do change your life. And this is just one of the cheap, nasty ones from Amazon, but it will just cut through anything. I've had some weird instances where it will sort of heat up the plastic so much it sort of sticks itself back together, but anyway. Alright, so you might be looking at this and going, well, okay, this is all very good, but how are we going to have the turret head actually rotate on top of the truck? Like, what are we going to do here? Well, if you're a smart person, you would have drilled a hole out beforehand, which I didn't do. So, if you are following this tutorial at home, sorry about that. However, if you are following this tutorial like this smart VW bug user over here, you will not have glued the thing together before doing this step. So yeah, drill a hole out. Now, I tried using my little hand drill and it would have taken far too long. So yeah, whatever drill you use, whatever drill bit you use for drilling out the rivets, just use that to get through the body. Like, don't sweat it, because we're going to cap over it. And in the case of the VW bug here, I'm putting a cap not just on top, but on the inside as well, just underneath. That way, when we drill a hole through and the turret pokes through and sits, it all fits into place and there's less wobble. I had Hank Heatmiser message me the other day on Facebook, and by the other day I mean middle of February, and he was just recommending a quick and easy way to do axles is to use like the plastic tubing that you can get from Q-tips or from lollipop sticks. And it's the same kind of technique I've shown before, but it's such a good universal idea. So thank you, Hank, for pointing that out. There's all sorts you can do. It's really good. But thank you, Hank, for getting in touch. In any case, we've now got to look at lining up those wheels. And before I glue on the last pair of wheels, let's just have a look at using some of those springs that I took out of a cigarette lighter in a previous video. Now, I've already mentioned before that these springs are the ideal size to create realistic looking suspension. In a perfect world, my file wouldn't be magnetic, so the spring wouldn't stick to it. But if we just have a look at the build with the springs in place, it's a surprisingly easy technique to just glue them in place. You know, it doesn't have to be that hard. As always, this is a public service announcement to tell you all to make sure that the glue is dry before you start fiddling with your wheels. Now we get to the best part of any build, because we've done the wheels, we've done some of the bigger details. Now we get to cover it in all the little goodies that we collect over the years. In this case, I am using Kyamsil Design parts, but of course, as a fine sponsor of this channel, and I'm using that lovely propane tank, as well as some bits from Zynga Industries, like a heavy machine gun. So, this is a piece of barbed wire that I made previously out of some, it's not brass rod, it's some other like wire. I'll do a tutorial if people are interested in how to make this sort of style of barbed wire. It's not my technique. This idea's been around for a long time. I think I originally saw it on Warseer, but it always looks rock solid on a build. And here we are. Well, this is the original. This is what's inspired us and what we've been adapting from. And here is the devil himself. And it is a different look. You know, this isn't a ice cream truck, but the principles are the same. And here's Ricky the Rat on the VW Bug there. Now, I will have to do a video where I just quickly go over how I put that together, because I feel this one's gone on long enough, and that's if you skip the bit about Zypods. But there will be a follow-up video where I look at how I paint sort of dilapidated and disgusting fairground sort of colour schemes. But yeah, overall, this is, you know, meant to be a quick video, but I know it's gone on for nearly 20 minutes. So let's wrap this up. Okay, so as always, thank you all for watching. There is, because it's March, a brand new competition over on the Gaslands UK Facebook page for Car of the Month March. Remember, all entrants must be UK based. This is a Gaslands UK competition. All the sponsors are UK based and all the entrants are UK based. Now, if you're thinking that's not very fair, I would remind you that Gaslands, the main Gaslands Facebook page, as well as many other post-apocalyptic groups, have competitions that run all year round. I know the French Gaslands and post-apocalyptic community, they're coming out with some wicked sick challenges, and we've got to try our hand at some of those ourselves. So yes, Car of the Month March has been announced, and the theme that our sponsor and the sponsor for the competition, Kyamsil Designs, has decided is the Death Race movies. Now, it can be any of the Death Race movies, and I'll do a video, man, that's my saying today, I'll do a video on all of the different sort of cars that have cropped up in the Death Race films, because even in Death Race 2000 you had some really weird and wonderful looking designs. Yes, with prize vouchers of £30, £20 and £10 for first, second and third place. That's £60 worth of value he's willing to pour into this community. So you guys, come on. How hard can it be to make a car that's inspired by the Death Race films? And I want to say, I'm going to say this in the next video, but I want to say this now. Just because it's the Death Race films, don't feel you have to make Frankenstein. We all love Frankenstein, but there's going to be so many people entering Frankensteins. Like, you know it's going to happen because it's such an iconic car from that film, but there are so many other things. And it doesn't have to be like for like. It just has to, you have to imagine that it's come from that world. But anyway, yes, so check that out on the Gaslands UK Facebook page. As always, thank you to all of the sponsors that, I like to read the names out. I like to tell you about the discounts you can get. It makes me feel good, and sometimes they send me bits. So thank you to Kyamsil Designs. As always, Fran, you're doing good work. And thank you to Mad Cars Green Miniatures. And if you use the code JH Miniatures when checking out, you too can get 10% off your orders at those websites. Don't forget to check out the Gaslands UK Facebook group, because they're a sponsor too. And of course, music has been kindly provided by the post-apocalyptic band of the Wasteland, the sound of the apocalypse, the orchestra of our destruction, V2A. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take care.